Larry is a college professor. He gives his worst student, Mike, a task to write an essay within a week. 7 days later, Mike sends Larry a message begging him to postpone the deadline for 3 days. Larry agrees. 3 days later, Larry claims the essay, but now Mike asks for a 5-day delay. Larry is very kind, so this time he agrees too. 5 days later, Mike shows Larry a burning candle and says, "Sir, can you please postpone the deadline till this candle wick burns out?" Larry laughs and agrees. Mike laughs too, because now he can forget about submitting the essay. Why? Mike blew out the candle. He said, "Till this candle wick burns out," not "till this flame burns out." So now, Mike can keep his candle unburned forever and never submit his essay. Larry brings 3 boxes of cupcakes to the college kitchen. He leaves them on the table to celebrate his birthday with coworkers after classes. All boxes have different sizes, but each contains 3 cupcakes. Meanwhile, Mike enters the kitchen. He opens one box and eats 3 cupcakes. After classes, Larry finds out that every box in the kitchen still has 3 cupcakes. How is that possible? Mike ate cupcakes from the largest box, and then he put a smaller box into the empty box. So when Larry opened the remaining 2 boxes, each of them still had 3 cupcakes. After classes, Mike invites Wendy on a date.
Hello.
Since they're both broke, they decided to take a bus ride and then walk back. The bus speed is 9 miles per hour, and the guy's walking speed is 3 miles per hour. What's the maximum distance they could ride on the bus if they must come back in 8 hours? Mike and Wendy can move on a bus 3 times as fast as they can walk. Therefore, they should spend 3/4 of their time walking and only 1/4 on a bus ride. So to fit into the 8-hour limit, they should ride for 2 hours, going 18 miles, and then walk back in 6 hours. Mike and Wendy are walking down the street and notice one very curious thing. It has 3 eyes and all are in a straight line. When its red eye opens, everything freezes. Can you guess what they see? A stoplight. Mike returns to the student dormitory to find out his entire food supply is gone. He questioned 3 people. Can you guess who ate his food? The guy on the right. He has crumbs on his mustache. Mike goes to the library to study archival newspapers. This newspaper is supposed to have 60 pages, but pages 24 and 41 are missing. Can you guess which other pages won't be there too? Pages 19, 20, 23, 37, 38, and 42 will also be missing. Mike finds a note inside the newspaper. There's a secret maze in the library, leading to amazing treasures. The note shows this map. Can you help Mike walk this path correctly? Here's the right way. Mike walks through the maze and finds this bookcase. One of the shelves is fake. Can you spot which one? This shelf is fake. Books on the other shelves are covered with dust and cobwebs. But these books are clean and the cobwebs around them are torn. Mike finds a secret room behind the fake bookshelf. He enters the room and finds a big safe and this weird note nearby. The safe is locked, and Mike needs to enter a 9-letter password to open it. Can you help him crack the code? The correct password is Moonlight, and here's why. Take a look at the hint note. All Mike needs to do is to use the corresponding number letter of each word. The first letter in the maze is M. The third letter in looks is O. And the second letter in roses is also O. And so on. Mike opens the safe and finds 3 identical gemstones and a note. Suddenly, the door to the secret room slams shut and the walls begin to shrink. Mike reads the note. Only one of these diamonds is real. Find it and put it into the lock. You only have 15 seconds. Good luck. Oh, no. Can you help Mike spot the fake diamonds? Mike should drop all 3 stones into this glass of water on the table. If the diamond is real, it will drop to the bottom of the glass thanks to its high density. And if it's a fake, it will float on the surface. Mike succeeds and unlocks the door, leading to a secret hallway. He walks through the hallway and sees 4 doors and a beautiful statue in the middle of the space. The statue sings, "We came out at night without being called. We disappeared by morning without being stolen. Who are we?" Can you guess which door Mike should enter? The song has a hint for Mike. The statue is singing about stars. Therefore, Mike should choose the door decorated with stars. Mike enters the next room and meets a queen. She says, "Hello, stranger. I have a task for you. If you succeed, I'm going to reward you with wealth and fame. But if you fail, you'll stay here forever as my prisoner. I want to renovate my kingdom so that all my 10 castles are connected through 5 straight walls. And each wall must connect 4 castles together. Also, at least one of the castles should be protected with walls." Then, the queen shows him this picture and continues, "My royal architect failed to give any solution that meets all my wishes, but he suggested this plan. Do you have a better idea?" Mike should offer this solution to please the queen. Now 2 castles are protected with walls. The queen kept her word and made Mike very rich. Also, she threw a feast in his honor. Unfortunately, not all royal servants are glad to see their queen with a new favorite. Take a look at these 3 people. Can you spot Mike's hater? Although this friendly-looking lord gives Mike a bag of gold coins, there's a snake hiding inside his gift. Mike is observing the royal garden. He sees 3 lemon trees. Each of them has exactly 10 lemons. The gardener comes over and picks 4 oranges from each tree. Can you calculate the number of fruits left on the lemon trees? Oranges don't grow on lemon trees. The queen tells Mike an amazing story. "I'm fond of dragon racing. On Sunday, I rode to see a race in a cozy village outside of my kingdom. 5 days later, on Monday, I went home." Can you explain this, considering that she doesn't have a time machine? Sunday is the name of her dragon. Mike likes the kingdom very much, but it's time to go home. The queen gives him 3,000 gemstones the size of a watermelon. He rents a truck to carry them home. Mike's current location is 1,000 miles away from home. Unfortunately, the truck can only carry 1,000 gemstones at once. Also, there's a check post on every mile till home. Each post requires all drivers to pay with 1 gemstone while traveling towards Mike's hometown. But the road is free of charge while traveling towards the kingdom. Can you figure out a way to bring the highest possible number of gems to Mike's hometown? Mike should make 3 trips of 1,000 gemstones each till mile 333. After that, he will be left with 2,001 gemstones and have 667 more miles to go. At this point, he should take 2 trips of 1,000 gemstones, covering 500 miles more. This way, he will be left with 1,000 gemstones. After riding the remaining 167 miles, Mike will be left with 833 gems. And he'll still be rich and fabulous.
Now, Rosie and Peter are having a date. Both of them are pathological liars. The waiter asks their ages. Peter says, "I'm definitely not over 30." Rosie replies, "I'm 28 and Peter is at least 5 years older than me." Peter adds, "Nah, Rosie is at least 29. Can you figure out their actual ages?" Since we know that all statements are false, let's assume the opposite. Peter is definitely over 30. Rosie is not 28, and she's at most 4 years older than Peter. And Rosie is at most 28. Now, from the first statement, we can conclude that Peter is at least 31 years old. The second and third statements tell us that Rosie is younger than 28. We also know that the maximum gap between their ages is 4 years. Therefore, Peter is 31 years old and Rosie is 27. Rosie arrives home from her date and makes herself a cup of hot chocolate. Suddenly, a soccer ball crashes through her window and breaks the mug. Rosie looks out the window just in time. She sees 3 neighbors running across the backyard, the Smith brothers. Their names are Miles, Mark, and Mike. The next morning, Rosie finds a note in her mailbox. It says this: "Which one of the Smith brothers should Rosie question?" The note reads, "Smith. Therefore, Rosie should blame Mark." Mark apologizes to Rosie. She replies, "I'm going to forgive you if you crack my riddle. So listen carefully. I came first on earth, but second in heaven. I also come twice a week, but just once in a year. I stay away for months, but you can find me in February. What am I? Can you help Mark solve this puzzle?" The correct answer is the letter E. And for extra credit, will Rosie the liar actually forgive Mark? Someone robbed Rosie's house yesterday. She called the police and they questioned her neighbors. Billy said, "Yesterday I was visiting my parents' house in another state. I just got back." Phil said, "For safety reasons, I had to spend last night in a hotel room. Construction workers urgently repaired my roof during the night. Thankfully, they finished by this morning." Meanwhile, Chuck replied, "Sorry, I was playing video games with my friends, so I didn't notice anything suspicious at all." Who is lying? Phil. The roof reconstruction should have been finished, but it still looks like a mess.
Ooh.
Rosie wants to win a college sports grant, so she trains very hard every day. Take a look at her rivals. Can you predict who's going to win this particular competition? The left runner will be the first to cross the finish line. The right guy's shoelaces came undone. Meanwhile, Rosie, who's running in the middle, put her hand on her stomach because she's struggling with a cramp. That's why her chances of winning are low. The next day, Rosie buys chocolates on the way to the gym. She can't eat them in front of the others because their coach, Tina, asks all runners to stay away from sugar products. So Rosie decides to hide the chocolates in her locker. During the break, she opens her locker and finds out that the chocolates are gone. She questions 4 teammates. Karen says, "I was washing my hair in the shower." Kelly replies, "I was talking to my boyfriend on FaceTime, and he can confirm that." Zoe discussed her skills with Tina during the break. And Nina enjoyed her sugar-free salad. Who's lying? It's Karen. Her hair is dry.
What?
Rosie is walking home from her training late at night. Suddenly, she sees a sad young lady sitting at a bus stop. The lady got wet in the rain, and the buses are no longer running. Rosie feels sorry for her and says, "My home is nearby. Would you like to have a cup of hot tea?" The lady agrees. As soon as they enter her home, Rosie turns the light on. That's when she realizes that her guest is very dangerous. How? The lady's legs are covered with wolf hair. Take a look at the sky. It's a full moon. She will soon turn into a werewolf. Rosie arrives at work, so we can assume she survived the night. Unfortunately, someone locks her in the underground parking. She wanders around for a while and finds 3 ways out, but only one path is safe. Hungry tigers are hiding behind the first door. It's impossible to get through. The second door is guided by a virtual voice assistant reprogrammed to hate people. It threatens to destroy anyone who enters this door. And the third passage is filled with toxic gas that makes all mammals pass out immediately. Which door should Rosie choose? The second one. Those threats are words. At the end of the day, it's just a voice assistant. Rosie discovers an infinite supply of honey, but she only has a 1 5-gallon jar and 1 3-gallon jar. She needs to measure out exactly 4 gallons of honey, taking as few steps as possible. Can you help her out? Yep, this can be done in 6 steps. 1. Fill the 5-gallon jar fully. 2. Now pour the honey from the 5-gallon jar into the 3-gallon jar. After that, you still have 2 gallons of honey in the bigger jar. 3. Now empty the 3-gallon jar. 4. Transfer the 2 gallons of honey into the 3-gallon jar. 5. Fill up the bigger jar again. 6. And finally, transfer 1 gallon from the 5-gallon jar into the smaller jar. This way, we'll end up having 4 gallons of honey in the bigger jar. Rosie goes to a local restaurant. The manager offers her free dinner. But first, she has to solve his tricky riddle. Rosie agrees. Here's the task. You throw me out when you want to use me. And you take me in when you don't want to use me. Who am I? Rosie nails it right away. Can you solve this mystery too? The correct answer is an anchor. Now, Rosie has 26 blue socks, 13 green socks, 33 pink socks, and 12 red socks. She keeps them in her drawer. How many socks would she have to pull out in the dark to make sure she had a matching pair? The correct answer is 5. She only has 4 colors in her collection, so 5 socks will guarantee that 2 of them will be in the same color. Hey, great job. Rosie has 4 siblings: Alex, Sarah, Nina, and Willow. All 5 receive some gifts from their relatives on Christmas Day. Rosie opens 25 gifts, while her brother Alex only 24. Meanwhile, Sarah opens 8 gifts, and Nina only 1 gift. Can you predict how many gifts Willow would open? The last name in Rosie's name is Y. It's the 25th letter of the alphabet. Alex's last letter X is in the 24th place. The last letter in the name Sarah is H. It's the 8th letter of the alphabet, and so on. Similar odd logic also works for Willow. The letter W is 23rd. Therefore, she will open 23 gifts. Now, if I were Sarah, I might complain about only getting a third of the gifts her siblings get. But I'm not. Rosie is looking through her granny's pictures. Suddenly, she gets chills because she noticed a time traveler among these party guys. Can you spot this person too? This picture is from the 70s, but this guy on the left has a modern cell phone in his pocket. He's definitely not from this era. Rosie wants to get into her boyfriend's apartment building to prepare a surprise for his birthday. Unfortunately, she has forgotten the 5-digit code, but she still remembers these 5 clues. The sum of the 5th number and the 3rd number is 14. The 4th number is 1 more than the 2nd. The 1st number is 1 less than twice the 2nd number. The sum of the 2nd number and the 3rd number equal 10. And finally, the sum of all 5 numbers is 30. Can you help her crack the code? The correct code is 74658. Here's some simple math to explain it.
Julie worked in a Prada store in New York. Everything there was expensive, and most clients paid by credit card. But one day, she got a client who got a purse, a wallet, and a dress. All that cost her $3,990. But the woman decided to pay in cash. Julie refused to sell the items to the client and called the police. Why? Tried to use to pay. They are two $2,000 bills, which don't exist. The police of Atlanta were notified that a prisoner had escaped from Chicago and taken the plane to Atlanta. Of course, an officer was sent to the airport to find the prisoner and capture them. The police officer spotted 3 people who looked similar to the criminal. Take a look at the passengers. Which one should be arrested? The prisoner must be this guy. He's the only one who doesn't have any luggage with him. Probably because he was running away and had none. In a small town, a grand robbery happened. Someone robbed a jewelry store in the local mall. At 6:03 p.m., the lights in the whole mall went off for 8 minutes. When the lights came back on, the most expensive jewelry pieces were missing from the shelves. The police interrogated 3 main suspects. Jack said,
I was picking out a present for my son in an electronics store when the lights went off. I was so confused as anyone else.
Fred said, I wasn't even in the mall at the time. I have no idea what you're talking about. And Stacy said, I was in the bathroom fixing my makeup. I didn't even notice the lights went out. Who is the main suspect? It's Stacy. She said that she hadn't noticed that the light had gone out, but they went off everywhere, including the bathrooms. She would have noticed it, so she's lying. Ava has always wanted to get a cat, but her mom wouldn't allow her to have a pet. So, when one day she found a kitten on the street, she brought it home, but kept it a secret. She succeeded for 2 weeks, but one morning she went down to the kitchen. Have you been hiding a cat in your room? Her mother asked. How did she figure it out? Ava is wearing shorts. Her legs are all scratched, and these scratches are what gave her away. During Halloween, all kinds of creatures flooded a little town, blending in with the citizens. Weeks passed, but some of them stayed, pretending to be humans. The town's detective could catch the remaining ones. He's been tracking a vampire, and he has 3 suspects. All of them only come out at night. Which one of them is the vampire? This guy is pale, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's a vampire. This guy is wearing a silver chain. so he can't be one. But this guy doesn't have a reflection. This is definitely not a human. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not let inside any suspicious people or people below the age of 21. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who isn't supposed to enter the club. Okay, here's the first guest for you. What can you say about this man? Don't let him in. The person in the photo is totally different. It's not this guy's ID card. Okay, here's the next one. Keep your eyes wide open. Do you see anything suspicious? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, the next one. Check it out and make your decision. In or out? Las Vegas is written with a W. It's a typo, which is unacceptable for official documents. This ID must be fake. Here's the next guest for you to examine. What's your verdict? Will you let her in? She seems fine to me. It must be safe to let her in. What about this girl? Is anything off here? She seems fine to me too. Green light. Okay, the last guest. In or out? Look, the woman in the photo has a brown right eye and a green left eye. The real woman has a brown left eye and a green right eye. This is too suspicious. I wouldn't let her in. Amelia is a huge modern art enthusiast, and she wants to take her siblings to a new exhibition. A ticket for one person costs $18. A ticket for 2 costs $30. And a ticket for 3 costs $45. If she wants to pay as little as possible, should she invite her 2 siblings at once or go with each of them separately? It's cheaper if the 3 of them go together. It'll cost $45. If Amelia went with each of them separately, she would have to pay $30 twice, so she'd pay $60 in total. Ellery has a sweet tooth, and every Friday she goes candy shopping for the week. Tonight, she bought chocolate bars, jelly beans, and gummy bears. She has all chocolate bars but 2, all packs of jelly beans but 4, and all packs of gummy bears but 4. How many pieces of each type of sweets did she buy? Chocolate bars are all but 2, which means that there are 2 packs of jelly beans and gummy bears together. So there's 1 pack of jelly beans and 1 pack of gummy bears. Chocolate and gummy bears are 4 together, so there are 3 chocolate bars. Ailu is a fairy living in her magical forest. Every day, she takes the same route for a morning flight to the lake. One Friday, she was flying to the lake when she met some other creatures moving towards her. There were 2 elves, 3 fairies, and a gnome. How many creatures were going to the lake that Friday morning? Just Ailu. Everyone else was going in the opposite direction. Lily and Della are twin sisters. Both girls failed their history test at school, and their mother made them study all weekend. In the middle of the day, Mrs. McAdams came to check on the girls. Take a look at Lily and Della. Which of them hasn't been studying? Della, the book she's reading isn't a history book, it's physics. She must have grabbed the closest book as soon as she heard her mother's footsteps. A rich lady was booking into one of the best hotels in the city. When she got her key, she noticed that her bags had been stolen. The police interrogated 3 main suspects. Mr. Collins said, "I wouldn't steal anything. I'm rich. I live in the penthouse on the 20th floor." Mrs. Jones said, "I've just returned to the hotel. I've been out all day." And Mrs. Smith said, "I wouldn't steal anything. I have too much stuff myself." Mr. Collins seems shady. He can't live on the 20th floor because there are only 18 floors in the hotel. Amber participated in a game show, and she won. She got 3 exclusive gifts: a Givenchy purse, Armani sunglasses, and a Porsche. But here's a catch. She is to pick her presents herself by choosing between the original and a replica. You need to help her pick the correct prize. Here are 2 Givenchy purses. One of them is the original, and the other is a replica. Which one should Amber choose? This one. It has the correct logo, so it must be the original. Now, there are 2 seemingly identical pairs of sunglasses, but only one of them is the original from Giorgio Armani. Which one? This one, with the correct logo. And finally, the Porsche. Let's see if you remember their logo. Yes, this is the one. Great job. Rachel called the police early in the morning. When they arrived, she told the officers her story.
"I work in a museum. Yesterday, I took home several ancient books. I wanted to do some research, but then a blackout happened. I lit a couple of candles and continued my work. Suddenly, I heard the doorbell ring. When I opened the door, someone in a black mask hit me on the head. When I recovered, the books were gone."
Detective Anderson arrested the woman for misreporting. Why? If there had been a blackout, the doorbell wouldn't have been working. After a bank had been robbed, the police found a bag with money in the park. It was lying among cacti. The police officers arrested 3 suspects. It didn't take long to figure out who the bank robber was. Do you know who it is? It's the man on the left. He's the only one with some scratches. They must have been left by the cacti. Detective Brown stopped a man leaving a clothing store. The sales assistant claims you've stolen some expensive gloves. "These are my gloves! I've had them for ages!" the man exclaimed. But the detective immediately understood the man was lying. How? The man wouldn't be able to use these gloves. They're both for the same hand. A family with 2 teenagers went on vacation to the seaside. They lived in a small bungalow, almost right on the beach. Everything was great at first, but 2 days after their arrival, their younger son went missing. The police had 4 suspects. They invited the guy's family to look at them. Maybe they could recognize someone. The teenager's mother didn't need more than a glance before she knew who was behind her son's disappearance. Who was it? It's the man wearing the missing guy's baseball cap. Michael was going home from the gym when everything went black. When the guy came around, he found out that he was in a locked room. Next to the door, there was a computer with a keyboard. On the screen, there was a riddle. Michael had to type the correct answer, and the door would open. The riddle went like this. It makes 2 people out of 1. What is it? Michael typed the correct word and the door opened. He was free to go. What was the answer? It's a mirror. Police detective Thomas Davis was walking along the street on a winter evening. Suddenly, he saw a person in a black mask sneaking out of a house through the window. They were carrying 2 large bags. The detective realized it was a burglar. He ran after the stranger, but they turned the corner and disappeared. Thomas understood that the criminal had hidden in one of these houses. But which one? It can't be the house on the left. There are too many people inside. There are no footprints in the snow leading to the house on the right. It means no one has been there for quite some time, which leaves us with the house in the middle. Oliver was attacked in his apartment and taken to a hospital. The police had 4 suspects, all of them Oliver's neighbors. Amelia said she'd been walking in the park since early morning. Henry explained he'd been painting in his studio and had heard nothing. Jacob said he'd been repairing his car. Sophia answered she'd been taking a bath for the past 3 hours. Look at these people's hands and try to figure out who is lying. It's a bit strange that Jacob, who'd been repairing his car, and Henry, who'd been painting, both have such clean hands. But they could have been wearing gloves. At the same time, Sophia's hands and fingers aren't wrinkled. But it would be a natural skin reaction after 3 hours in a bathtub. How many bricks does it take to complete a building? Just 1. It will be the last one. A man wanted to buy a used car. He found a nice one which cost $9,000. He bought it and didn't pay a dime for it. How come? When paying $9,000, you don't need to spend dimes. Now let's check your math skills. How can you write 45 using only the number 4? (44 plus 44 44ths). Nathan sneaked out of the house late in the evening to meet his girlfriend. The teenager thought he was extremely careful and quiet, but his whole family knew about his plan. They were aware that the guy would return at midnight. They decided to make a bet. The one who would see Nathan first when the guy started climbing the fence would be the winner. No chores for them for 1 week. Not to fall asleep, Nathan's dad switched on the TV. The teen's grandfather settled in the living room and started to read a book. The grandmother went to the kitchen to make pizza, and Nathan's mom went to her room, sat down on the floor, and started meditating. Who's going to be the first to spot Nathan when the time comes? Nathan's mom. Her eyes will be used to the darkness, and she will see better than the others. The CEO of a large company called the police. He was sure that one of his employees, Victoria, had stolen a memory card with secret information. She was going to sell it to the competitors. The police arrived at Victoria's house, but the woman didn't let them in without a warrant. The officers had to leave to get all the necessary papers. When they came back, Victoria was already sitting in her car, ready to drive off. The police officers arrested the woman. They searched her car and clothes, but found nothing. And then, when they were about to give up, one of the detectives realized where Victoria kept the memory card. Can you figure it out? When the police first came to her, the woman had her hair down, but after that, Victoria changed her hairstyle. The memory card is in her bun. Martin was driving past a bus stop when he saw 3 people standing there. One of them was Monica, a woman he had a crush on. Martin also spotted Sam, his friend, and an elderly lady who looked like she was freezing. Unfortunately, Martin had a 2-seater car. What should he do? He should let Sam borrow his car and stay at the bus stop with the girl he likes. This way, Sam will be able to give a lift to the elderly woman, and Martin will have more time to get to know Monica better. During a fire, a bank was robbed. The security guard told the police he wanted to save a bag with money, but he had to lace up his boot right in front of the emergency kit. At that moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he recovered, the money was missing. Why was the security guard arrested? All emergency doors open outward. Detective Adams came to the park to have lunch in the sun, but his attention was drawn by 3 men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running in first is the criminal. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect. "I've been feeling unwell all this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. I didn't even need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure yourself," the suspect said, and indeed opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, the bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be that full.